Chrome 3 times for good measure.
Are you saying? But I'll lose all my
itself?
tabs. Yeah, but you might lose all your tabs. It's
Yeah,
scary.
no, I know. So it's like a real thing. You got to hold on and just like take deep breaths and then just do it. And then when it comes back, hopefully your tabs come back. And if they don't, then you probably shouldn't have 300 tabs open, Corey.
Also, Control/Command Shift H or whatever, like brings up all the tabs you had when you closed Chrome.
Yeah. See. Also, if you close
that's not
Chrome,
a troll. I think it actually does. I mean, Google it. Do your own research. Whatever.
Do your own research.
Listen, I did my research, okay? And if your tabs go away and they don't come back, it wasn't meant to be.
It wasn't meant to be. You don't even, dude. You have like 300 tabs open. Only 3 of them you're actually using, by the way.
Well, you don't know. I can't Google it again. I already Googled it once.
I know. I don't know how many times I've looked at a tab. I'm like, oh no, I can't close that because then I have to find that again.
Honestly, I like, this is a confession. I use tabs as like a pseudo ghetto task tracking thing where I'm like, I need to go back to this. But then I never do, of course. Like every task tracking thing, you just make a checklist, then you throw it in the garbage.
Yeah. I don't know.
I always try and go back to like Teams and use Planner, and then
here in your C, but you're low.
I always go back to just having a notepad open.
Yep.
Now on my desktop, there's 3 different notepad files, like stuff to do, more stuff to do, other stuff to do.
Stuff I forgot.
Additional stuff to do, part 2.
That are also recursively in desktop cleanup folder 1. That's recursively in desktop cleanup. That's in
Oh, I have a notorious, just a sublime text, just notes all in there. It's just like a mind map, like.
I have a Kanban that goes back 3 years.
Map, right? Without the map, yeah.
Kanban that goes back 3 years.
Yeah.
If you could screenshot my desktop, you'd get everything. It's bad.
I love making checklists. Way more fun than doing actual work. Totally agree. So agree.
Yeah.
And you always have to make the first thing on the checklist be make checklist, so you can be like, ooh.
Check that out. Give me that early dopamine hit.
Hit me with it.
Give me that early dopamine.
And you got people like Steve, whiteboarders, aka people with a million things written down on a whiteboard that never gets cleared off.
Show you there's one thing crossed out on my whiteboard right here. One thing, and it's just scattered like.
I mean, like
I don't know what goes to what.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
I won't show it to you because there are passwords on my whiteboard.
Yeah, there should be like a whiteboard Wednesday. You take a picture of your whiteboard and post it on Twitter and see if anyone can see if you can decipher what you even meant.
#OPSEC.
What I have not got done. That's usually what the list is.
Step 1: install whiteboard on the wall. This whiteboard's still on the floor, but it has written on it, put whiteboard on wall.
Why don't they just make it just a list of just stuff you're not going to do? That's what you're actually writing down, like the list of stuff you're not going to get done, you know? Mm-hmm. So now you can focus on the other stuff you are going to get done.
I'm no mathematician, but I think this stuff I'm not going to do is a bigger set than the stuff I am going to do. I'm too lazy to do that.
Either way.
You guys ready to go?
Was there any news? I mean, do we need to do the show?
Do we even have any news?
Security was solved over the weekend.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, it was Easter. That's
news in and of itself. So I guess we should just start the show.
Yeah, we can start.
All right, you're leading, Ralph.
What? Who?
You're the host.
Ralph he's the taskbar, like framing wise.
All right,
he's moving up.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's got one of the best shirts on. So
I don't know where I got it from. I think it was a conference. I don't know if you've heard of it.
All right, ready?
Can I press start to Ralph to open Ralph, like to make him take up the whole screen? Is that a thing?
First out of it.
You can if you have the host control.
Look at Corey just trying to hack his way in.
Like that.
That was scary.
Yeah, it was scary. All right, let's go. Let's go back. Let's start.
Let's do it.
Kick it off.
So that.
Welcome to Black Hills Information Security, talking about the news. I'm your host today, Ralph May.
He's so enthusiastic.
We are super excited to be here. I know, actually, I brought that intro, and I really felt down. I felt down. You're right. No, everyone, thanks for joining in. We actually do have an all-star cast. Ryan, who's not making me sound any better in monotone. I don't know what setting you did on that. We have Ian on here, who coincidentally does this conference besides Orlando. Corey, he just shows up because he likes Windows. Yeah, nice shirt, dude. Actually,
Yeah, right.
This is Vaporwave Windows. It says
Vaporware.
It has like Sailor Moon in the I don't know. It's
man.
It was one of those like Alibaba $3 shirts that you.
I was gonna
resist.
say, where did you find that,
dude? You will never find it again. It's one of those things on Alibaba or AliExpress. It says like 100, 100 quantity, and then you buy one and it's like 99, and then it never changes, and then the listing gets taken down. It's like one person bought this. There's some really other good ones I would highly recommend investigating on your own. The algorithm will take you down a rabbit hole, and you'll get to the point. I'm not going to say the full name of the shirt, but it was basically like I can only get aroused if the Windows 95 startup theme is playing. So it was like very niche. I don't know who was buying that shirt, but maybe some friends did. I don't know.
And then we've got Steve too, who doesn't normally join, but he has made it today.
I got nothing else to do. I don't have a job.
Steve joins normally.
He does sometimes.
Once in a while.
Yeah, we're actually right now working on a red team, and Steve's he's killing it. He's really the best in the game.
We're gonna destroy him. I gotta get my admin collection cup here. The tier cup.
So speaking of tiers, what news you guys articles you guys want to start with today? I heard it was solved all security this weekend, so we don't really have a whole lot to talk about, but there's a couple things.
Didn't CISA solve it for everybody?
CISA solved it.
Yeah, CISA pretty much. Oh god.
Okay, am I stupid? What is CISA exactly? Like, let's go back to square one. What is this? Compare this.
Department of Homeland Security's information
Infrastructure Security Agency. I mean, it's an acronym soup. They're protecting you from your.
See, their logo has like a bird with a microchip on its wing, so they must be.
So the bird with the microchip on the wing is just an epic troll to the fact that birds aren't real. They're showing us their drones right now. They're
Someone have the Goosebumps theme song on.
Wait a minute, there's a bird outside my window right now. You're saying
you're being spied on. I mean, obviously you already were, but
so I mean, now that we've brought this up and wondered, I think this had to do with the CISA ordering agencies to fix actively exploited VMware and Chrome bugs, which there's
VMware. So they just run around with their hair on fire going,
yes,
everyone, you're getting hacked. Fix this.
Yeah, there's yes, and there's you have to fix this, right?
Or
they had two, right? So it was this one, and because if you go back to where you were just at, I saw
OT
a thing
SCADA,
for an IoT or SCADA stuff too, which is another article we have.
Schneider Electric PLCs, Omron, Sysmac, Next PLCs.
Raise your hand if you've seen a PLC on the internet on a test. And one is too many, right?
I mean
it's
I've seen an HMI. I don't think I've seen a
well,
they're there. Yes, it's critical that you A, don't put them on the internet, and B, patch them.
But isn't the internet decentralized and reliable for communications? That sounds perfect for OC or OT.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you put them together on the internet, then they can talk to each other.
Oh,
so you have to put them publicly facing.
Yeah, I actually need to do that because my boss is really writing me that this plant isn't working.
This is like the who's of basic vulnerabilities here: directory transversal. What is it? SQL injection.
So basically, does CISA just run really big Nessus scans and then just
actually, yes, they do. There is a program that you can sign up for with CISA. And they will scan your network externally on a revolving basis.
We are watching you
daily or whatever.
They're giving them until May 6th to fix this stuff.
Then they'll hack them and patch it for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's precedent for that. Don't get me wrong. It's crazy, but there is. What was it? It was the Exchange one, Exchange Marauder. The FBI logged in and was like, "Yeah, we'll fix it for you." It's like, hey, thanks.
That means you just don't have to do anything. You just wait. And
the guy who goes to jail for like writing a worm that fixes itself is like he's like, come on, guys, I was trying.
I did my best.
So basically, if you have vulnerable OT or VMware devices, fix them. As if anyone didn't need reminding of that.
Oh, wild Deb appears.
I think these ones too were like saying they're being actively exploited, like, you know, not just I don't know. So sometimes there's CVEs that are just kind of like more like, hey, I mean, this could be bad.
Could be bad
If like 14 things were like perfectly in line, and then the stars aligned, and it was also on a Sunday, and the moon was perfect. So,
but these are like being actively exploited in the wild, which means we don't really know what that means, but DEFCON 2.
Yeah, POCs inbound.
POCs inbound.
To go back to one of the earlier questions, the CISA agency, though, for those who maybe are tuning in on YouTube and are like, okay, these guys seem to see CISA or just another government agency, but again, there are way too many government agencies. Don't get me wrong, but one of the key things they do is a lot of public-private partnership to say, okay, we're not going to give you access directly into, you know, the NSA or the FBI, but we can function as a bridge. So, you know, Chris Krebs came out of that agency famously in 2020. It was fired by somebody via tweet. Through and they do a lot of this publishing. And one of the things I found that companies like about it, big organizations, is getting those alerts because they can use that as a trigger. And they can say, okay, if CISA says this is important and we're understaffed, if we just focus on these things, at least maybe we'll avoid being in the news. So that's the way a lot of organizations are using it now.
They do some cyber triage, basically, kind of deal, where it's like, this is really bad. It's not just that SSL version 2 enabled thing that you've been ignoring for the last 2 years.
Right. What? Poodle?
I would never. Was it White Cyberduck there? I would never make fun of Jen Easterly. They would beat me up, and I'd deserve it and would have no chance.
Well, yeah, they have an army of birds with microchips inside of them.
That's right.
Those birds were more expensive than you think.
Follow the science, man.
It's a real deal.
A wild Alex appears.
What do we do? Do we have options? Can we do dialogue, or should we attack?
Attack Alex?
I don't know. When someone says a wild something appears,
right there, you don't see it.
Like, is this a turn-based strategy game now? I'm so confused.
A wild Alex, you sleep.
I think he's still trying to get his audio working.
Yeah, I don't think he can hear us.
It hurt itself in its own confusion.
Wait a minute. Is Alex at CISA right now? I mean, look at
that. Hey, everyone.
Welcome. How's CISA? Does it smell good? Do they have a Cinnabon? Do they have a Cinnabon in the cafe?
Do they have one of those little like aerosol cans that like auto spray every 5 minutes?
Those are the worst, man.
Yeah, dude. Oh god.
Man, I stand at one of my friends' places which had that, and every 15 minutes the thing went out to scare the shit out of me. It's like, what the heck is that?
Yeah. No, those are the worst.
I mean, I guess we've picked enough on CISA.
So patch your stuff.
Yeah.
If you use them as triage, it's bad. Your people are bleeding out in the field.
In the field, they're dying. This is World War I too. I mean, this is bad. This is trench warfare. So you patch your stuff.
APTs are in the mix, so you know it's bad.
APTs. You guys want to talk about Russia and the Ukraine? I actually had two things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
So one, Russia's getting a little upset about the satellites because in essence the comms are just kind of Russia's just upset about everything because they just can't win right now. They can't drive tanks. Farmers are their worst enemy. Anyways, but satellites also happen to be a big issue for them, and they're trying to jam GPS. They're trying to jam everything. So
don't they have like a space force trying to shoot lasers at sea? Like
I know. The other one too is that they said that they are going to start launching attacks on the Starlink satellites because they're using those to communicate. Right.
So basically, Elon is in a panic right now, trying to get a bunch of new satellites ready to go.
Yeah, and so
I don't know how you're going to shoot down a Starlink sat. Aren't they like micro satellites?
I think they just burn out the sensors. If I had to guess. I would doubt they're actually going to use kinetic.
What, shoot
Maybe.
freaking laser beams at them?
I would guess.
Pretty much.
Sharks with laser beams.
Right.
Sharks with lasers. Yeah, I mean they're moving pretty quick. I mean, like how many I don't know if a rocket could catch it.
I mean, dude, at this point, based on what we've seen from Russia's military, they're probably just going to send up Sputnik. They're going to be like, we have 100 Sputniks. Just send them up and hope they block the way.
Oh my god.
Just have a cosmonaut with an AK.
Yep.
Yeah, they just literally have soldiers shooting up into the sky with AK. Just like we're going to hit one. We just have to shoot enough. Just enough.
I don't know if that's how space works, but sure.
You know, I do your own research. That's what I'm trying to say.
So
I'm imagining too. Oh, go ahead.
So I was gonna roll into the next one, but if you got something to say, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just all I was gonna say was given also what I've seen from them, I can imagine like a meeting with Putin. They're like, okay, we're going to deploy most advanced cyber weapon, space tanks. It is worked. We pull out a playbook. Space tank. We entrench in space mud and
entrench.
We run out of space gas immediately.
Space gas. Oh gosh. So speaking of Russia, right? The Conti ransomware group.
I love them.
It's pretty prevalent, right?
So
and it turns out that they may actually have like an HR department, performance reviews, employee of the month. Who would have guessed?
Oh,
right?
do they get a parking spot?
You get like ransomer of the month. You got like a gear, like some encryption stuff. I don't know.
I mean, how is this group even still going? I guess they're like possibly Russian. I don't know.
How's it still going? Well, clearly they've got HR. They've got
what do they have to like? They have cyber insurance. When they got breached, they were like doing. They did like a cyber insurance claim. They're like, we need a stimulus payment to continue operating because we just got breached. Who's an insider? It's always an insider.
It's always an insider. What I think is interesting though is they got all this from leaks and they've been a victim of their own kind of crime, right? So
yeah.
For sure.
I mean, I've listened to enough Darknet Diaries to know that, like, in the criminal circles, like, they're so untrusting of each other, and so, like, they're just, like, doxing each other while they're on a gig together. Like, I'm like, oh, I didn't hack the client. I hacked you, and now I'm going to steal all your Bitcoin.
Oh, you know how we said 50-50? Well, now it's not. Now it's 100 me, 0 you.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that, that's not surprising. We've talked before about the whole, ransomware region of the world. They've gone legit. I mean, they had ransomware as a service a couple of years ago, right? They're basically like, you pay them $20, they ransomware, and
I like the one. I like how they're fining their employees for lack of performance. Right, Ralph, I'm sorry, but we gotta dock your pay this month because you didn't get that fish landed on that red team.
Ooh, man, gotta try.
Who are they even hiring? Like, who wants to work for Conti at this point? Like, you might as well just go legit.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what the benefits were like. Do you think they got healthcare?
Right?
You make a really solid point. You think about like their whole reason to do crime is to avoid like having to do annual training. And
Dude, they have to go through phishing awareness training at Conti.
Also, if they are qualified, there's probably a company that'll write a pretty significant salary check too, but yeah, I mean, I think it's also funny. Like, you got to wonder, like, was their plan to like, we got to get healthcare, so we'll breach a healthcare company and then ransom them, like, give us full coverage or we'll release your documents.
I wonder how many people are working for Conti at this point. Like, when they're putting all these resources together, like, that's
if you go on LinkedIn, it says 200. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Good question.
So weird. Conti's listed in the Fortune 500 now. This is wild.
Conti's in the Fortune 500.
We could find out how many people work there.
So I guess they
call the PR department. They got one of those too.
Does that mean that they hit Fortune and they asked to be put on the Fortune 500?
I want to see that now. I want to see like a Gartner quadrant from ransomware groups. Like, these are innovators in the field. They're really changing the dynamic market space of ransomware.
I do think it's interesting though, because I mean, obviously this just shows that like this is a real business, right? And I know like the funny things that we've said, like healthcare and other things, right? But like that they are operating in that sense, and to attract and to keep their quality up, I guess. I mean, like you start to, I mean, if you run it just like the the Wild West, right? You're gonna lose some of the control to keep moving forward, right? So
right. I mean, how are your operators are just going to take the money that they
that
they ransom, right? So if you're in charge of the operation, you want that to come to you. So you got to have incentive, and I guess performance hits if you don't ransom or something too.
Yeah, it's just kind of
it's so weird. I mean, I think Ian nailed it, basically saying like, doesn't this take away the whole reason of being a black hat? Like the whole point is like, so you don't have to the classic like hacker movie stereotype. You live in your mom's basement, you sleep until 1 p.m. every day.
That's the perfect cover, man. It's just like the movie Hackers. Somebody can come, your mom can come in and say, go to bed, Joey, or what are you doing up so late? It's all right, I'm taking over a TV network. Right? But you really are. It's perfect cover, right? Work from home, get those perks.
I don't know if law enforcement like does the whole reverse psychology thing super well.
Speaking of law enforcement, the hacker community lost a big forum recently. RaidForums is gone. It was kind of known that they were. It was suspected that the RaidForums were already under control by a government agency, and then recently one of the suspects was arrested. I don't remember exactly where it was, but and of course they were like 16 or something when they started it, and they made millions of dollars. So
is this one of those things, they seized the domain, or they actually took down the operation?
They seized the domain, and then they arrested some people.
Yeah, the classic like targeted strike where they do everything all at once and all that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, I will say RaidForums, I mean, definitely I get why it was taken down, because you can't just be like, I just hacked someone, buy their credentials from me and have that be a legitimate forum. But it definitely had, I mean, I used it to get leaks from like a white hat perspective. There's definitely, seeing what the public can see, like that, it's definitely interesting to see. Like there have been groups already that have archived all the data and are like posting it. So, it's like kind of a weird thing where it's like, as a white hat, how can we get access to this kind of data and not have it be illegal? It's so weird, but
because you and sometimes your clients ask for that, right? What is our presence on the dark web, or what kind of stuff do we have out there? And if it's out there for public consumption by threat actors, why at some point we should have that to inform our clients and things like that. Hey, yes, your stuff is out here, fix this, here's these creds that were leaked, things like that. But at some point there's like a balance, right? You don't want to be paying
right, you're funding malicious
threat
actors.
So it's tough.
But yeah, it is. I mean, it's not surprising. It was high profile. They had, I honestly, I mean, looking into the leak community or the hacking community, I think what a lot of the other sites have said is that RaidForums allowed like government breaches, and basically they allowed data sets or hacks on the site that other sites don't allow. Like the OPM breach was on there, voter databases, other things that like attract the eye of big governments. So, RaidForums, I guess, classic, right? It's the classic story of like, if you have no rules and no, limitations on what people can do, then you're going to be targeted. And
the OPM breach was on there. I thought that never got released. I thought that was straight China, dude.
Maybe not OPM, but
I don't think it was OPM. But there was government stuff though.
Basically so basically they had no rules against posting government data sets, which a lot of other hacking forums do have rules that you can't post, like no government data sets, no law enforcement data sets, etc. So obviously if you're going after the people that are investigating you, they're going to prioritize your case. Like, I mean, if they're doxing the people that are on their case.
And in other news, RaidForums 2 launched last week.
This time on tour, I don't know.
This time, much more secure. They're using a new bulletin board system.
Yeah, I think what's next, I mean, the thing that sucks is it's going to move away from centralized, and it's going to move to like Telegram and stuff like that, where it's totally decentralized. It's just groups of like nuclear groups of people sharing this information, which I guess is bad for threat intel people, but good for OPSEC. But
is what it is. You guys want to talk about that GitHub stuff?
The credential package thingy stuff.
OAuth access tokens. Everyone's screwed.
No, you're all messed. Yeah, we're actually on a red team right now finding credentials in GitHub. It's a common practice, right? And the researcher from where was it? Oh no, this is
this is
different. I was thinking about the researcher that found all the creds and everything in GitHub and reported it to GitHub.
Yeah, that was another one. We could talk about both actually. You want to talk about that one first?
Yeah, I just can't recall. It was if anybody out there on the show remembers which organization found it. I think it was X-Force, maybe.
Was that from a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I think
you guys already talked about that?
I don't think
it rolled into this, I guess.
Yeah, the other one was, I think it was just finding it in like commit histories and other things like that. Stuff that you think you had deleted. By the way, if you ever accidentally post something on GitHub and whatever it is, like, and you know that it's been accidentally posted, just delete the whole repo. That's the only way to get rid of it.
Yeah, no, I just put a commit over it.
Yeah, no, don't. You just destroy the whole thing, right? And then just assume that you need to reset that credential.
So for the story that we're currently covering, apparently someone abused stolen OAuth user tokens issued to third-party OAuth integrators Heroku and Travis CI to download data from orgs like NPM. So basically, it's kind of one of those things where it's like be on high alert if you use those auth integrations. Maybe roll some tokens, revoke some access.
And well, what's interesting also is that a lot of organizations don't realize that, like, they hire a consultant or a developer to do work, and they'll put that stuff on GitHub, and they'll never, like, the organization will never know about it because it's not on their repo, right? It's on the developer's repo who just maybe was 1099 or something like that. So, you have to look, you have to actually search and go out there and look for more than just in your own repository.
Yeah, so they went after some private repos, and they also apparently grabbed some keys that could be used in like supply chain attacks, like modifying NPM repositories or things like that. So I'm sure that they're monitoring those repos closely, but I guess it's also kind of the discussion to kind of have probably is like, is GitHub private good enough for most organizations, or should they self-host their code base? I don't know. But
I think that those keys, I don't think they were on private repos.
They specifically say that the threat actor may be analyzing the downloaded private repository contents from victim entities using those. So they basically like
using those keys.
Yeah,
using those OAuth tokens.
Yeah. So like they get access to the account and then they go through their private repos, which makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, it brings up a discussion. Yeah, it's like if you self-host it, there's the security, GitHub. Would you even notice if you self-hosted GitLab and it got popped? Maybe. No. But, at least, maybe it's one of those things. Totally.
Honey creds, put some honey stuff in
honey there. Creds, It's kind of funny because like you see an OAuth token or some other like, API key or whatever, and the entropy is really, really high and the length is super high. So you're like, this is, impossible for someone to, get, but that because of that like false sense of trust, you let it exist for long periods of time where, in a more like ideal world for identity access management, you should be rotating those keys even at some kind of interval, right? So that you don't necessarily rely on something that's in a code forever. So, and
scanning your own repositories, there's tools out there you can use. GitRob, GitGot, TruffleHog. TruffleHog from Truffle Security actually has, I think, an enterprise license now where you can continuously scan your own repos and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
Canary tokens that Ian posted is that's an awesome. Yeah, you want to? Are you
guys
using?
I was going to let you run with it, but the Canary tokens has an AWS API key token And I've seen that used where when you've got third-party contractors or whatnot, you give them a code base, say here, and don't touch this section of code, just leave it there. And then, that can be your quote canary that they've put it in some other GitHub repository. Somebody's running it. When you see that fire, you say, okay, that leaked from that contractor, that leaked. So you can set up as many of these as you need or want.
Yeah.
And I've seen that be, at least something. It's not, fail safe, but
sure.
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
defense in depth, right? You gotta layer.
I'd rather have
part of it
alert than nothing, right?
So do those tokens alert on usage, or are they just like, because that you could also put one of those tokens in a private repo, and then if it gets sucked down and used, then you can
freak out.
Then you can exactly.
That's exactly what they describe. Is it's the token provides you with a set of 8. Leave them in private code repositories. Leave them on a developer's machine. The attacker stumbles on the keys. They try to run it. You get an alert.
Makes sense.
Totally not a canary token.
I can tell you the real defense is just like when Log4j happened. The defense was just don't log anything, and then you'll never be vulnerable. If you write crappy enough code, no one will want to steal it. That's what I generally try to do. So
that's why I don't fork anything from your repo.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I'm waiting for the real bad guys to do that.
Yeah. All right.
So there was another article. We didn't talk about this one, I think, last week, but first malware targeting AWS Lambda functions. So this was in Hacker News. And I don't know, this is definitely, I think we're going to see more of this with serverless computing becoming more popular as the years go on. But the AWS Lambda function, if you're not aware, is serverless. I'm going to use air quotes here. In essence, what it's doing is running a EC2 instance for like a short time period. And it's kind of definitely susceptible to, attacks. When I say it's definitely susceptible, I mean, like, there's a lot of it that is like running in a short period of time, and we don't necessarily know all the attack surfaces for something like serverless computing.
So wait, you can use things for C2? That's unbelievable, dude. I cannot believe that.
I can't.
That I don't believe you.
Yes, I know. Well, I mean, you can run any code you want on there, so it's actually cheap. But yeah, malware targeting it.
Yep. So I wanted to talk. I think they actually did something else for Lambda URL simplify setting up an AWS Lambda endpoint. Something else I saw where they're letting you configure URLs with your functions. So it might be like a possible redirector.
Yeah. Anytime we can use the cloud, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because CloudFront costs so much money. It's like 3 cents per engagement.
I can't afford it, man.
Yeah, this was so this one that's on the screen now is one that I wanted to talk about, making phishing great again, because initial access is like the bane of all of our existences, and the most part, and phishing is too, since it's part of that. So this is a method to create a VSTO office file, which is basically in Visual Studio, you can create this Word document. And you can create an add-in and can compile it all together and make a payload out of it to phish a user with. And then maybe they'll run it. You'll get code executed and then get your C2 channel into the network, right? So that's how this document kind of works. But there are some dependencies. So I was wondering if anybody's familiar with this kind of attack. It looks like you have to host like the DLL and the manifest and some of the things like that, kind of like a click once. You have to put it on the web somewhere in a trusted location, I guess. So I'm wondering if you could use something like Fodi and weave this stuff together, or IL, combine it so it's all one payload and you don't have to host those DLLs out there. Might make it a little more impactful. But this is a kind of a scary new technique in the fact that you don't get the macro alerts that you typically would, right? Because this isn't a macro. And you can also sign these add-ins as well.
Can you disable this feature, or is it just on no matter what?
That's a good question. I make a general assumption that you might be able to do it through group policy or maybe attack surface reduction rules, something like that. But nothing that I know specifically of.
I think you said group policy. You can disable all application add-ins. It will get marked at the web. Okay. So
sure. So maybe still in an ISO, we have seen, and this may be another thing to talk about a little bit, is ISO files, right? Microsoft put out a tweet, or somebody from Microsoft put out a tweet this weekend saying that they've basically made a workaround to the ISO problem, which is you can download a file with an ISO extension. You can have a file inside of that container, and that file does not get mark of the web. So that means that it doesn't get blocked by the operating system when you download it and get smart screened. So you can have somebody open this ISO file. It automatically mounts to like your E drive or your D drive or whatever, and it pops open, and they have the files located in that drive right in front of their face. So if you phish somebody with that, you can put documents in there, PDFs, executables, whatever you want, and they don't get that smart screen filter. So Microsoft is trying to combat that and make it so that when you download an ISO file, you can't mount it, or it gives you warnings, things like that. But they just came out with that. It's in preview. I say we've still got a good 2 years of ISO files. Just like, like in 2015, PowerShell's dead. PowerShell 5, script lock logging, all this good stuff. Great. Yes, great. We're improving, but it's not dead. Orgs still have to implement it and things like that, right? So just something to keep an eye on. If you're an organization out there and you're not familiar with ISOs, take a look at that. Mark of the web, all that good stuff. This VSTO documentation kind of blends in with all that.
Have you looked at, because I'm skimming through this article now, and they're talking about the code signing certificate being trusted. Have you looked at that? Is it relying on the trusted updater code signing certificate, or it would seem there's a dependency there on making sure that your target has a code signing certificate that is trusted? Am I reading that wrong?
So I don't think it's not validating the certificate. It's looking specifically in that trusted publishers store, which is
right.
like,
it just means the certificate chain, right? So if you're on the certificate chain, you're trusted. You should be trusted. So not like,
are you sure?
Things like that. But if you have you purchased a code signing certificate and you sign it from like a trusted party, it should end up in there, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely validate that. I'm not sure if there's a difference between the trusted publisher's specific certificate store for Office add-ons, or if it does actually use the public chain, like Steve's saying. I'm not really sure.
Right, because this refers to just being trusted by the target machine. It doesn't really say.
Well, no, it says specifically the trusted current user trusted publisher certificates, which is like a specific path in the registry. Or in the certificate store. I don't know.
Right, and I think that has the root certs in it. And then anything down from that chain should be trusted.
Interesting. I'm going to have to look at that.
Yeah, it would be good to look into a little more. It's a pretty scary attack path. And again, any other initial access vector that we have is kind of expanding our attack presence or our attack surface. So
there's some red team out there that's like, come on, we were using this for years and it was working great. Now some guys wrote a Medium post about it, and now everyone's on our tail.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we're here for, right? Those that are in offensive security, right? We got to improve the defense. So
yeah,
most of us in this side of the house are pretty much, let's open source things and put things out there so the defenders can protect against it. So these blog posts like this help out, because somebody could have been using this, like you said, for years, and nobody really was tracking it.
And I think you're right that it's going to stick around for a while, because the fixes don't seem too great. You can disable all add-ins with GPO, which would disable your phishing reporting add-in, your Grammarly add-in, your export to printer add-in. All that stuff would get nuked. So no
DocuSign's the one that shuts you down at any org. They're like, wait, DocuSign integration doesn't work?
Yeah. Okay, so that's not happening, at least not on endpoints. Yeah. And then the other one is the whole trusted publishers thing, which just amongst a group of 5 people, we can't figure out if it's, I'm sure if you look at it on a domain level, it's like, okay, well, well, this computer has this signing certificate. And then you have the issue of like, okay, what if it's an internal CA and the internal CA gets compromised and it's valid for 30 years and all that stuff? You know, if you have DA, and then you can just fish the rest of the org or whatever. So, but yeah, watch out for Vistos, not for photo editing. That's a different app.
Oh man.
But a Visto crossover fish definitely should put it in. I'm putting that in my hopper.
Definitely.
We want to keep talking about phishing.
What do we got?
Why you got some bait?
No.
I'll click anything. Send it to me.
But yeah, no. I mean, the one story. I mean, there's a tweet inside of the news post that got some traction, and there's a few other things that are there. But that tweet went out over the weekend, or maybe it was Friday, and it was, my university just sent a phishing exercise. Essentially, it's $7,500 in tuition assistance, and you can imagine what the reaction from most of the Infosec Twitters are, and I saw that and was like, we got to talk about that, because we got to stop this.
Well, I mean, we've got, all right, ethics, right? We have to abide by some level of ethics on this offensive side of the house. So cold calling somebody at an organization saying, hey, your kid just died at school, can you click this fish? You know, you're not going to go that far. You know, you gotta have a line somewhere, right? We can pull at heartstrings, try to get people to click on things a little bit. Hey, like I've done it, like I've stood up fake charities and things like that to get them to fake donate, even though they're not donating real money and stuff like that. But click on my link, go to my 5K. So, I mean,
what, you're not running a 5K? You sent me that link.
Right? Oh, no. Right? So we do targeted fishes and things like that. But at the same time, come on. I mean, I'm wondering if this was a paid for service that did this, or if this was like an in-house fish.
I mean, I would say
on the staff.
I mean, I would say that I wouldn't want to be the person that clicked send. However, if your goal is to emulate brutal real attacks that do happen, that kind of stuff does happen and does work. So it's like, I wouldn't say it's necessarily unethical. I would say it's a PR disaster. But it definitely, I think, would fall into, you know, one of those things that's like, students should know that this kind of thing would be the exact ruse that a real attacker would use to steal their information. So, I mean, it makes the university look bad, but
right. Well, it's similar. It's akin to what would we say, business email compromise, right? Where you're basically saying, "Hey, pay me this money" or something like that. I don't know, but to me, it sounds a little bit like that, but maybe not.
Yeah, I think there's a bigger problem at play though, and there was a story from a few weeks ago that we didn't cover about, it was 25% of employees have said that they know someone or were someone that was fired because they made a security mistake. And I've been in organizations where I've left because we did a phishing exercise. We made it abundantly clear that nobody gets fired for this. Nobody gets disciplinary action. Nobody gets any of this stuff. And all this kind of stuff is doing this that's on the screen, and the $7,500 one. Yeah, criminals can do that. They can call up, and we've seen the scams that say, you know, your grandson or granddaughter has been arrested, and we can get them out of jail. And if it goes any further, we need $7,000 to, you know, grease some wheels and whatnot. And of course they can do that. But if we do that, we completely lose the trust of the people that we try and protect. Anything from here's a bonus or a holiday party or whatnot, to, let's say somebody does get fired for clicking on those links. Do you think they're ever going to report a fish ever again, or do anything? No, they're gonna do, be like, those security folks are out to get you, you know? So it just drives me nuts when I see things like this, because there's about 200 better ways to do it and test the controls than to say, I gotcha. You were desperate because things were going wrong and thought you were getting $7,500. Like, come on.
Right. You could have just informed people, like, hey, here's a screenshot of a scam that's going around. Beware. Right.
Yeah. And I mean,
instead of causing mass panic.
I think the other thing that we kind of, you know, touched on a little bit earlier was like what the relationship was, whether it was DIY, if they did it themselves, if they hired someone else to do it. I will say, I think from a consulting perspective, sometimes we're put in a tough place of an organization will say, well, we expect a 40% click rate or above, or we'd really like to see you get above an 80% click rate, or they get focused on the numbers. A lot of times organizations will push you into doing something like this. That's kind of a gotcha, like Ian was saying, like more of a, like, haha, like you look bad kind of thing. So it's kind of, as a consulting organization, we have to be careful what we are willing to do, and that we do have these like, boundaries, or, I think that conversation, like Ian was saying, like, this is going to do more harm than good. This is going to alienate your user base. It's also going to alienate your board, not to mention, if people get mad at you in the public eye, it's going to cost you more than a real fish. Like,
Right.
So I definitely think it's interesting, like, that we don't know the relationship, obviously, of what, whether they hired PhishMe or whether they, did it themselves or whatever. But yeah, it's like an interesting kind of relationship where you have certain people pushing for certain things, and they're probably trying to do good. Like, if you look at metrics of a phishing assessment, you would want it to do well. You'd want to have a high click rate. However, not at the cost of your users, good faith and trust. Right. And that's, every blue team has to, deal with that, where it's like, you do want your people to say, I messed up. Like, it's like the whistleblower thing. You don't want to be like, anyone who says anything that falls out of line gets immediately fired. Like, you're not, your company is going to be corrupt in like 5 years. Like,
that's a sad ththing to see when you go do a security assessment, right? And you're trying to help out the company, and they end up firing staff because of things like that, or things that you did. Oh, you phished this user, or they had a crappy password, or whatever, that, they had a misconfiguration. It's just, I think it's the wrong mindset, right? We have to be working together as a team and proactive, and kind of combating this stuff together instead of pointing fingers. And
I mean, I think you could even just honestly, like, a dramatization of, like, like Steve said, I mean, you could obviously just say, here's a screenshot of like an active phishing campaign, be careful. But you could also do a dramatization of, like, make a fake video of like, oh, okay, I open my email, I see an email, I click it, and then like just run through all the crazy stuff that can happen and let people see what that actually looks like. You don't have to do it for real. Like, you can, like, you can make a movie about war and people be afraid of war. You don't have to actually be like, all right, you're going to the front lines. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
actually done that for large government organizations, done webinars and webcasts of phishing, like doing a live phish, right, against myself or a coworker, basically, but phishing and showing it on the webcast, and hey, here's what it looks like when you download the document, you open it up, you enable macros, blah blah blah. They see it all.
We were talking about that being a reality TV show, like, phishing.
Wait, Tiger Team is back?
Yes. No, you have to, like,
not about that.
Fish like your relative or something, and the thing is, will they click the link? You never know.
Click that link.
Yes.
Steve Harvey
if you fish somebody, you get paid. Oh man.
Yeah.
it's like the Shark Tank intro. I'm totally picturing it now. It's like, only it's Fish Tank. It's like, this fish came with a pretext that they are going to offer and get an offer from a Nigerian prince. Let's see what our fish tankers say.
And it like loads up a desktop of like a lady that has like 1,000 icons. Oh, she's gonna click it. She's gonna.
Oh, she's totally gonna click. 100% click rate here.
Yeah. So I guess
she's drawing pictures with her icons.
To wrap it up with a PSA, don't do this. Or if you do, prepare to lose your job.
Or
today's tax day, are you going to be making a fish related to any of the financial documents related to this? No. That's A, protected stuff that you can't be really messing with, and B, like, yes, you're going to get clicks on that, but somebody mentioned, like, oh, I got 100% click rate on my campaign. What does that tell you? People clicked on the thing which you expected to click. The point of phishing campaigns is to basically evaluate where your people's level is. Is it like, oh, here's a free prize, and people go click on that, then you know you've got a problem. But if you're like, oh, I'm going to impersonate the IRS and stuff like that and go click on it, it's like, yeah, I'd honestly hope they click on it because, it's the IRS. That's fraudulent. You shouldn't be doing that, but it's not helpful to your company to be knowing that. You have to find that balance between this is going to provide good education for our users and also going to provide an accurate judgment of where our company's readiness is in terms of these phishing attacks.
It's not awareness at all costs. It's not like police break into people's houses to show that you should be aware there's home break-ins. Like they don't.
You should have better security.
They just throw a brick through the wall. Hey, just so you know, break-ins are increasing in your area. Like, that's not okay.
Fire trucks driving around lighting buildings on fire. Now you should be aware when you see this. Fire and your house is burning.
Your dog may be in trouble. I don't know.
Yeah, they're like in that moment, you became very aware that was a thing, but that was not worth the cost of admission.
Corey, I want to do one note. I want to say on what you said about and there's everyone keep talking about awareness and education, but what you said is the most important part. Is that you get a client that says we want to do this. You have to develop the tact and the nuance to say, okay, that would absolutely be effective, and we can try that. But based on our experience, here's some other scenarios that are just as effective, but might not put you in a situation where you've got employees that are upset or what's going on, and you'll either learn that client is they just don't know. They're like, oh, we get to play bad guys. We get to play with the hackers today, which I hear a lot. They're like, oh, we get to do this cool stuff. And so they just think there's no holds barred. But if you then explain to them, like, no, we should really do it this way. And here's why. And that's a great idea. And you'd be a great criminal. Like, tell them that. You'd be a great criminal. But here's what we want to do that would do the same thing. And they'll go, oh, okay. So it's not just user education. It's client education. You have to teach them as well. And that's Corey. Just an excellent point.
Yeah, I think if you were going to go the route of like brutal no holds barred, do a real spear fit, take a few people to approach them beforehand and be like, hey, there's some you're going to see some things or we're not going to hold you accountable, that kind of thing. Like do it on a more targeted individual basis if you have those kinds of individuals. But yeah, really, I think a lot of our clients do rely on us for our expertise, and we can say, look at this tweet. Do you want to look like this? We can say, like, in our experience, if you lose the trust and goodwill of your employee base, that does way more damage than it says to your, do you really need that funding for that new email gateway? Well, if you lost your users, you lost like a huge chunk of your security program. That's like half of the security program is users reporting things and being security aware. And
if you had 1,000 users click on this phishing email and they all went to the phishing portal, why does your email gateway suck?
Yes. Besides, we're gonna go full, like you said, no holds barred. First, you kidnap the CEO's family. That's where you start,
right? Yeah,
and you put him in a trunk. Everybody.
You go full Griswold on him.
Crying wife. Click on the link.
Yeah, you're right. No holds barred is a joke. That's true. That we need to get that out there. That the concept of actually simulating what a real criminal could do is fun when it's like AV signatures. Not so great when it's like, all right, we have your son. Send $50,000 in Bitcoin.
Exactly. That's actually real ransomware.
Remember that we took off the where. We're just going for regular ransom.
I think you went a little bit out of scope on that one.
Just blew right by that.
We're just about efficiency and optimization here. Ransomware, too long, too many syllables. Trim it back.
We got to go back to the old school, right? The new school stuff.
You might have ransomware insurance, but do you have ransom insurance?
Do you guys want to talk about Elon?
Is he my Twitter overlord yet? Or?
Yes, he's your Twitter overlord.
No, he's
not.
But
all right. So I'll bring up the headline catch here. If you don't know, he's trying to buy Twitter because I don't know. It doesn't matter. But he wants to make it open source. He says it should be open source. What do you guys think about that?
Well,
do you
he
care?
says, okay, first of all, he says a lot of things.
That's true.
This is a chunk. Let's debate whether the Twitter algorithm should be open source. Then we can talk about...
That's kind of like focus on besides like whether he's going to actually deliver the Cybertron.
All right, let's do this like a panel. Corey, yes or no?
Yes.
Simplest, yes or no?
I think everything should be open source.
All right, we'll get to the explanations. Ian?
Yes.
Open source, yes?
Yes.
Ralph?
Yeah, definitely.
Alex?
Yes.
Steve, I'm going to be the opposite. I'm going to say no on that.
Do you own Twitter stock, Steve? Is that why?
Nope.
Now, are you saying no specifically just for the sake of the panel, or no because you've got, what's your reason?
I'm going to say if Elon buys it and makes it a private company, it's his decision to do whatever he wants.
He wouldn't
to do
make it
with
open source. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you asked.
I'm saying
whether...
as a public company, though, I think it would make sense to make some of it, but again, it's competition.
Because
it's
then he could
free
just
market
copy
and
it,
things like
and
that.
then it's
Everybody
open
can just
source.
copy it, make their own platform. So there's some trade law, patents, and all that kind of stuff that has to be taken into consideration.
Hold on. Are we talking about the platform or the algorithm by which things get displayed? Because the danger that I was playing the other side in my head of open sourcing the algorithm of how things get promoted to you and whatnot was like the Google SEO hacking back, and then still goes on, that now marketers are like, oh, we know how to get our stuff in front of you without paying for promotion. But but the whole code base, no, I don't think so.
If they came out with like a decentralized Twitter that was open sourced, I mean, would you use it? Would it?
I thought that was Mastodon. Is that not Mastodon?
I don't know.
I don't think it's open source, though, is it?
There's probably something out there like that. I mean, I think, the reason why everyone uses Twitter, because they don't really have to do anything. They just show up, right?
I think it's one of the, this is an interesting topic to me, because my gut feeling is that I think that the general public needs to have more awareness over what the capabilities and limitations of an algorithm are and how they apply at scale. I'm sure there are researchers out there right now that are like at colleges and universities that are doing algorithmic social media research. But when you're looking at that versus something like Twitter, which has been around forever, has had, is a de facto news platform and has been for a long time, like I think people need to know the implications of what algorithms can do, what algorithms can't do, how they work. I think the public in general needs more awareness of what that is. I don't know if necessarily that this is the way to do that necessarily, but it is an interesting concept to think, if we all knew, like, oh, well, this was promoted to me because I did this, because I did that. If you could actually walk through that, the real, the journalistic win here would be similar to the Panama Papers or Cinema, like having an interactive thing where you could go into the Twitter algorithm data set and look at why you clicked this, then you look at your account specifically, trace back your actions. I think that would be like an amazing, kind of an interesting study for people to do and to raise awareness over so on one hand, I think that, but on the other hand, I think people are aware of how the algorithm works because everyone has had the experience where they're like, I was talking about fudge, now I'm getting all these fudge ads. This is really weird. Everyone's had that experience. So everyone
My
at least
phone's listening. It's a fact.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I guess people overestimating the capabilities of algorithms is probably not bad. People being like, they know everything. That's probably how it should be. People should probably assume they know everything. But
yeah, that's interesting. So would opt-in to parts of the algorithm help there? Like if you knew hey, or they sectioned it off. All right, this is the advertising part of the algorithm. So we target the ads. What if I wanted to opt in more towards, I don't know, hair care? Like I need hair care. But whatever. Could you opt into parts of that would then provide a service that you like?
I think it'd be funny because I think
random stuff.
I think people would pick stuff that they don't like that they think they do, which is the whole point of the algorithm is to I'll tell you what you like.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think if it went open source, the research, I would really enjoy reading all the research papers that would come out of that. But I mean, as far as is it going to happen? Hell no, it's not going to happen. That's their entire brand. That's
that's
literally,
the
companies. That's not going to happen. Anyone who
Elon said it was worth $42 billion. That's what that's worth.
That's like Elon saying, I thought about lighting a stack of cash on fire, approximately $42 billion worth. He would, if he did purchase it, he would never open source it. It would that is just a pipe dream by someone who thinks that going to space is the only thing left to do on the world. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that that the concept of it is very interesting, but in the real world terms, it's not going to happen. It's also, the offer was rejected, so it's actually also not going to happen. But
it wasn't enough money.
That's why I was asking about the algorithm originally, because that's the bread and butter. like how you get promoted tweets, how you get promoted ads, whatnot. I mean, that's how the company makes money.
Yeah.
And I tell my students in my classes, never break the machine that makes money. You can do anything in security. As soon as you break the machine that makes money, that's the problem.
Twitter's value would go to zero. I mean, it's basically, I mean, it also, I do really think that like you probably don't understand. No one really understands. That's the cool thing about an algorithm. Even no matter how many researchers and whoever, if it's open source and people dig into it, no one really understands how to.
No one understands the cloud.
No one understands. I mean, the whole point of the algorithms is they're designed to be like opaque in some way. If you can just go on Twitter and say, I only want tweets from this person, and it's just an RSS feed, not Twitter. So like it has to be, that like novel nature of it is it's like built in. It has to be that way.
What about the algorithms for Cyberdyne systems? Do we need to know those?
Yes.
Don't worry. We already have a guy. He's on it. We have a guy on that. He's going back in time.
Yep.
All right. Well, with that, was there any other articles? We are right at the end here, guys. Now that we've
there was more.
Elon Musk is gonna not buy Twitter. So
he's buying Black Hills.
Yes.
Please, no.
I think John's gonna he's about to show up. I was gonna say
right? John's really pissed off right now and he doesn't know why.
Yes, he's like angry. He's like, I'm so angry.
God, something just happened in the universe. I got
something happened.
Feeling.
Why are my ears
just
burning?
screwed me?
It's ticking a lot of boxes for him because it's like there's somebody talking about my company and capitalism.
42 billion. That might be a good deal.
Yeah, that might.
But then we'd have to take over operations for Twitter, which would be it'd be really complicated.
It'd be all Florida man posts.
Yes. It would just
something
be pure
tells
gators. All gators.
Something tells me that the Twitter like janitorial department is bigger than Black Hills in both value and number of employees. Dude, they're a big fish.
Oh gosh.
Plus, they banned Trump. That's the other fun thing. Is like if you think about start messing with the algorithm. Okay, well now you're messing with like the decisions that they've made that are integrated into the algorithm. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like.
All right. Well, with that, and now that we've made John angry and he doesn't know why, let's go ahead and kick this one off for today. We will. Well, thanks everybody for joining the show. Thanks Ian for jumping on. Thanks Alex for jumping in here. Steve, Corey, and we are going to be gone for the next 2 weeks. Actually, we got Way West is coming up in 2 weeks exactly, and next week we are taking a break. So thanks everyone for joining.
We will do a live episode from Way West that's called the 3-day podcast of our lives.
It's called
a lot of
Way
recording.
West.
Yeah, it's called Come to the Con, and there's just any Black Hills person at any time they're doing the podcast.
Yeah, my whole life is just that. No, but if you do get a chance, definitely check out Way West either in person. I will be there. It'd be amazing, or online. So, but we will see you guys next time. All right, bye guys.
See you in a month.